My name is Jan Rovny, and I'm a professor of political science at the Center for European Studies and Comparative Politics. And I have recently published a book on ethnic minorities, political competition, and democracy, which I like to call Circumstantial Liberals. Under a number of conditions that the book identifies, ethnic minorities strive for liberal democratic institutions and procedures. The liberal component of democracy focuses on balancing the majoritarian electoral component of democracy with various counter-majoritarian measures. These are specifically checks and balances in the form of diverse institutions that limit the power of the executive, and simultaneously the protection of civil liberties and rights that would protect all kinds of minorities from the tyranny of the majority. And this is obviously something that is deeply in the interest of ethnic minorities. And as such, I argue that ethnic minorities can be a positive asset for democracy. So I can give one example from Slovakia, which has a significant Hungarian ethnic minority, and throughout the time of independence of Slovakia from the 1990s onwards, the Hungarian minority has organized in a number of parties, and the most significant of these parties have often pushed for liberal democratic coalitions and liberal democratic politics. So the Party of the Hungarian Coalition, which entered a winning government in 1998, stopped democratic regression of the previous regime and put Slovakia back on a path towards liberal democracy and European accession. Later, in 2016, another Hungarian minority party called Most Híd entered a difficult government coalition with an illiberal political party, Smer. And in this difficult coalition, the Hungarian minority party strove for protecting all forms of rights and civil liberties, as well as limiting corruption. This was quite striking because simultaneously the domestic regime in Hungary was explicitly illiberal and pushed towards democratic backsliding. My book combines experimental, qualitative, and quantitative analyses. It is based on 7 chapters, the first 4 of which are mostly quantitative analyses of 11 Eastern European countries. The other 3 chapters focus on 3 case studies: the German minority in interwar Czechoslovakia, the Slovak-Hungarian minority in contemporary Slovakia, and the Russian minority in current Estonia. These chapters focus on a mix of quantitative methods together with qualitative elite interviews and with archival work. So the conclusion actually contains 3 smaller studies, one of Muslims in France, one of African Americans in the United States, and one of the Chinese and Indian minorities in Malaysia. What is quite striking that, for example, Muslims in France behave very similarly to the circumstantial ethnic liberals that I find in Central and Eastern Europe. Muslims in France are particularly concerned about the liberal democratic components of democracy of the French Republic. For example, they're much more concerned about proposals such as to abolish parliamentarism, to do away with the National Assembly, which they would find particularly concerning. Currently, in the context of a larger European project called Auth-Lib, together with colleagues, we're studying how different social groups, including diverse types of ethnic minorities, particularly Muslims in Western Europe, view different components of democracy. The book is quite a personal book. Myself, I grew up as a Czech majority in the Czech Republic, but as a child I moved to Canada, where I was effectively a migrant. So the question of being a minority was a personal question to me. Similarly, my maternal grandmother, Czech, was born with a German name, and so she herself, to some extent, was a minority at certain times of her life. Finally, my paternal grandmother, who was born in Austria-Hungary, lived in 7 different countries without moving out of her region. And so how individuals placed in a minority position will have particular political interests was a core question that these personal stories brought to me. The book cover is inspired by the works of Mark Rothko, who was born Markus Rotkovich in the city of Dvinsk in the Russian Empire. That city today is called Daugavpils and is in the country of Latvia and happens to be a majority Russian-speaking city. Rothko himself was a Jewish minority when he was born in the Russian Empire, and I always think of his paintings as showing the majority and the minority.